Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I'm here with Silva. We're driving. It's a beautiful early morning here. We got a little bit of snow, actually. Beautiful sunrise. A little bit of snow, but it's springtime. It's probably going to be warming up soon. Out here driving down to Maryland today. We are going to Capital Auto Auctions. You see, we can be there right before 11. We're going to be picking up another car today, and we're going to the OG Capital Auto Auction location. You know, I've bought a couple of cars now from their Philadelphia location. Well, this one's actually in DC. It's right on Capitol Hill, essentially, or like 3 blocks from it. So it's going to be a fun experience. We are making good headway here. It is beautiful this morning with this snow. Look at that. I love central Pennsylvania. This is amazing. But yeah, we're heading down to Maryland. Should be there soon. I'm going to show you guys what I end up getting, and hopefully we should have a smooth ride back up here. Alright, here we are, Capital Auto Auction at Capitol Hill. Can't really tell. Can't really see anything around here. Cherry blossoms are blooming at this time of year, though. It's really nice. You can see a lot of cars here. Cool little Volvo. They got a couple of these brick Volvos. I looked at some of the bids on them. They went cheap, around 1,000 to 15, but just got my gate pass. We're gonna drive down to the lot now and pick up my vehicle. All right, we're here at their storage lot now. We're waiting. They're gonna bring the vehicle out right in front here, and I'll show you guys what we got. All right, well, there she is. The auction's just down that way. As you can see, we didn't go far with it. It is getting towed all the way back in Harrisburg, and look what we're stumbling upon here. Right up in front of this RAV4 is the Explorer, and we've gotten like, I think, over an hour and a half behind this guy, but catching up to him. They gotta drive slow. They're in a freaking tow truck. They do 55 the whole way. But yeah, we're about an hour and a half from home, and then I get to start working on this thing. From this angle, you can kind of see how clean it is underneath. Look at that. There she is in all her glory. Alright, so it's the next day here. We got this thing home last night. Got dropped off. You can see in the daylight now. That clear coat looking nice. But the big thing is, we got to figure out the 4-wheel drive. I'm pretty sure the actuator underneath here is the problem. You can see it right there. It's soaked in oil. The ground is probably bad, so it's not even trying to make a noise when I'm trying to switch the electronic switch in the interior. You can see the frame there, though. Really protected by this oil. Only a little bit of an oil leak. I think it's a rear main seal leak. This Borg and Warner is leaking a bit too, which might be something I have to change out. We'll see. There's some seals in there. But other than that, it is clean under here. You can see those rocker panels are beautiful. But right now, we're about to go. I have a battery over here that I swapped out this morning, so I gotta take this core back. And then I'm going to run to the junkyard to get a couple of things for it. You can see here we have good tires in the rear. Nice Kinergies. They're 2020 date code, so they have some years left on it. You can see here too, the rust on the wheel wells is just amazing. There is none. Nothing in the rocker panels on this side either. Just unheard of in this part of Pennsylvania to see one with this little rust. Tire on this side, both the rear tires are the same, they're matching. The steel wheels are not, so I'm also going to be looking for wheels today. And then a couple little interior parts, and that's about it. Maybe I'll grab a couple used actuators, but I have a new one coming in a couple of days, and that should fix our 4-wheel drive problem. And honestly, I'm going to probably try to manually disengage it before then, so we can try to drive this thing around. Alright, so I'm out here with the Explorer again today. I'm trying to narrow down the issue for the 4x4 system. I just tested the battery with a voltmeter, and I got 12.5 when the vehicle was running, when the alternator is supposed to be charging, and it's supposed to be getting about 14 volts. Yeah, so 12.5 is not going to cut it, so this alternator needs to be replaced. I also noticed, I'll hand the camera off here so I can try to do this, but if I spin the tensioner, you can hear how bad that bearing is. There's a lot of play. The idler, not as much. Still a little bit of play. So I'm going to change out both of those and then this alternator as well. So you can see I got 2 of the bolts out. They are a 13 millimeter. I just got to get this last one out here, and then I'll remove the whole unit. You can also see I've got some other stuff removed here. Some plugs removed for the alternator. And then this is a plug for the mass airflow sensor. And you can see I've got the air snorkel off over here, which typically goes along there just to get better access. Got a little cover panel off that typically lays on top of the throttle body. And then as well as the old air filter, which is just horrible, as you can see. So we're going to replace that. The belt is a nicer, newer Gates Micro V, so the belt's in good shape. So we should be able to use the same belt. There's no cracking or anything. We just need to replace tensioner, idler, alternator, filter, and then throw it back together and see if we have a good working 4x4 switch. I do know the motor works. We got it to somewhat engage. However, it's still just not enough. I think we're lacking voltage, which we saw with the battery test. So let's get a proper working alternator and see what happens when we have good voltage. While I'm working on the alternator, it's important to show I did change out some parts from the junkyard trip yesterday. We've got nice new cruise control, or not new, but OEM, and they're not broken or cracked like the old ones. To do that, you literally just pop these little side covers off. There's an 8 millimeter bolt on each side to pop the airbag out, and these are just Phillips head screws, and they unplug and you can just swap them out. So I did that and quickly swapped out this armrest. The old one was cracked and there wasn't even an armrest anymore. But if you lift or raise these seats up, you can see there's a little cover. You remove that, and once again it's 8 millimeter bolts, and you can remove both sides to pull that out. So I've got both those replaced. I replaced a hood strut over here and a hood hinge because I bent one of the hood hinges, unfortunately. But now we've got that sitting right. The hood opens and closes. I do need to get a new cable. This cable must be frayed somewhere. It just runs up this fender and into the firewall. Right up there in that grommet. Right up there. So somewhere along that line it's frayed, and you have to go in with a pick through the grill now to pop the hood. So I've got a new cable on the way, and hopefully this will fix our 4-wheel drive issue. Let's get to work. Alright, so we got the parts out now. Here's the idler. It's not too bad, but clicks a little bit. The bearing is probably a little worn. It doesn't look like it's the original one. It's probably been replaced at one point. It was not torqued down whatsoever, this bolt, when I took it off, so that kind of concerns me. This, however, does look to be original. This is the tensioner, the auto tensioner, and this is what the bearing sounds like. Yeah, if you know anything about bearings, they should not sound like that. Also, it just stops really easy. It doesn't really spin nicely. We also have the alternator right down here. It is a Motorcraft alternator. I believe this is probably the original alternator, so it lasted 180,000 miles. But you can see in there it's all cooked up, and you can hear that bearing just does not sound good either. So we're going to replace this alternator, the idler just for good measure, and definitely the tensioner. And then we'll see what the charge is like when we're done. So let's get some parts and get it thrown back in. Alright, we have the new alternator installed, as well as these new, well, I have to bolt everything down, but you can see the new idler pulley down there. See if I can kind of lift it up here. There you go. See, nice and new. The bearings are much better on these. There's that idler right there, and the tensioner down there. The automatic tensioner itself, we're keeping the original. It's still good, it holds tension. We're replacing the pulley on both the idler and the tensioner because they both had bad bearings, as well as the alternator because it wouldn't hold a charge. We have a new air filter that's going to go in as well, and then we're going to see how it runs. Alright, with the alternator installed here and torqued down, everything's plugged back in. Just got to hook the battery back up once we got the snorkel back on, and we're going to install that air filter as well. We still have to put our tensioner with its new pulley in here. We also have the idler pulley in here. We have to torque both those down. Then we'll fire it up and see how it runs. Alright, well, with the alternator installed, we definitely did fix one major key problem. which was a noise coming from the accessory drive, like a humming noise. One of the diodes must have gotten stuck in the old one. This one sounds great. You just hear the engine now. Got that new filter in too, so it's breathing great. Brand new batteries charging great now. We have like 14.26 volts on that. Alright, I'm back out here with the Explorer today. I'm going to quickly do some headlights on it. It's been pretty rainy today. I just want to tackle these headlights. You just start by lifting these little tabs out of the way, just like so. And then you're exposed to 2 Phillips head screws in there, which will let you take out this top marker. There's 3 tabs, 2 there, 1 up there, and it pops out. And then that'll expose this lower box, where you can remove the grommets on that. See if I can kind of show you here with this one. There are 3 of these grommets that are all tabbed. You pop those out, which I've got a little trim removal tool for, and we'll be able to take these old dated boxes out and swap them with some fresh new ones and really help the headlights and help our visibility at night once we can drive this thing. So here's what it looks like now. Let me show you what it looks like once we're done here. Alright, so here's the final product here. It's got the front end looking nice and clear now on both sides. Looks great. Alright, I'm out here again doing some 4x4 diagnosis today, and I have the culprit of our problem right here. This is our front drive shaft. You can see there's the U-joints up here. These needle bearings are pretty crusty, that you can feel it in there. You can hear that too. Laterally, it's alright. It's not the best. This entire shaft is not the best. It's rusty. It's ready to be replaced, so I'm going to replace it. I just drove it without the front shaft, and it drives fine without any issues. So we know it is definitely a binding with the front drive shaft with the 4x4, but both the differentials, both the pumpkins, front and rear, are going down the road fine. They aren't binding without this drive shaft. So what goes wrong on these drive shafts is the constant velocity part down here. There's a bunch of ball bearings in there, and basically just over time they go bad. And this one has a bit of a clunk when it was installed. It had some play, and I think those U-joints are bad as well. So we're going to throw in a whole new drive shaft, and then hopefully this thing should be able to drive as good as it drives right now without a drive shaft and still have 4-wheel drive. Alright, so with the drive shaft down here on the bench, we can see a couple of things. One, that it is indeed an original drive shaft. I know the date's backwards there, but 12/03/97. So this vehicle was made at the very tail end of 97. It's an early 98 model. So this drive shaft was the original. And this is what goes bad on them. So I ended up doing a little bit of diagnosis with the 4x4 system. I found out that both the differentials spin freely when lifted off the ground. So there's no binding in there. And the only thing that causes binding is this front drive shaft. When it's disconnected, there's no problems. The transfer case shift motor is actuating properly. Nothing is causing this vehicle to be stuck in 4x4. It's just, since it's a partial all-wheel drive 4x4 system, if this front drive shaft is out of balance or wobbles, the whole system is going to feel it. So what goes bad is these propeller shafts. It's essentially a CV style constant velocity end on this shaft, and it connects up to the transfer case like I said yesterday, and the balls go bad in there. The grease comes out of there, which I believe happened here. The grease will leak out this boot here, which there is a lot of grease residue that was on this. I took a lot of it off with brake clean, but the whole underneath of the vehicle was coated in oil grease substance, so I'm pretty sure that's going to be our issue. Once we pop in a new drive shaft tomorrow, we should be good to go. Alright, it is a new dawn and a new day, and we have yet another Explorer outside. Yeah, that thing was delivered last night, and let me get downstairs and I'll give you guys some more info on it. Well, a little update on the gray Explorer before we go over to the new one. I recently did a new thermostat. Right there's the housing. You can kind of see it back there. I also replaced the sending unit and the temperature sensor on the other side right down there. and then filled it up with some nice orange coolant, which you can see is now sitting low. After about 2-3 days of driving this, no problems at all. I was very happy with how it was driving. Still no 4x4, I'm about to be working on that soon. After the 3 days of driving, the heater core decided it wanted to puncture a hole in itself. So it started leaking. There's a weeping hole down here in the AC box. It's actually your AC drain down there. And it starts leaking onto the exhaust. And it'll also start smelling like burnt coolant, which it did. I was driving. The interior started fogging up because I had the heat going. And that's how I knew the heater core went bad. And now I have to do that entire job, which, if you know, even though the HVAC box is on the exterior firewall on this, and the evaporator and all that, to get to the heater core, you have to remove that dashboard. So I'm going to be starting with that today, but the four-wheel drive service on this is now put on hold. I have the front drive shaft and everything. I just need to get this new heater core in, because obviously can't be driving anywhere if you're leaking coolant. And then hopefully this one will be ready. Let me go explain why we got the other one. Alright, so this is my other 1998 Ford Explorer. I purchased it about a week ago from the same Capital Auto auction. It was kind of an accident. However, I only paid about $500 for this thing, and I needed good wheels and tires, which this one has for the other Explorer, and other miscellaneous parts, which I'm probably going to have to nick some from this, because even though this has 210,000 miles, so about 40,000 more miles than the other Explorer, it seems to be a bit more reliable. I drove it yesterday. We're about to take it for a drive now. And it drives great. It shifts through the gears great. It's not leaking anything on my drive or my road out here. And it honestly, it just only is a mistake because I don't have much space for it, and that's why it's stuck out here on the street right now. You can see coming inside, it is worn, well worn. I'm gonna unlock it here so I can get around off the street. It is well worn. It's got cosmetic failures, busted out back glass back here. It hit something up in the front here. However, it is a common color. It's black. The paint is not in good shape anyway, so if I find a replacement fender, I'll probably just throw it on if it's black. Same with the rear door. If not, I'm just gonna get the parts I need off of this thing, clean it up, and then sell someone a good running and driving Explorer. I don't need the engine or transmission. I really would only need some 4x4 parts, and possibly, and definitely, the wheels. Around back, it's about the same deal. These seats are not too bad. However, the carpets have been trashed. This window being down, I mean, a lot of water gets in here. I need to retape it. It's really starting to fail right now. But hopefully I can get a door for it before I sell it. I want to do little things just to make it easy to sell. This tailgate doesn't always like to unlock. Sometimes you got to go back to the door and toggle the switch and see if we can open it now. Now, so there's a couple of things that tell me about the history of this vehicle. We have parking permits all over it. I'll show you some around back. They're both from Virginia-based schools. Mary Baldwin, so small university. I'm assuming this was a high school student's first car. The title was last transferred in 2013, so I should say that. So a family probably bought it, drove it for a while, got it from a used car dealer in 2013, and then passed it on to their son or daughter to drive in high school as a first car, take it to college. It was a reliable vehicle the whole time, did the job, but at some point after graduation, the student probably wanted a new vehicle. That's where this got traded in, sent to Capital Auto Auction, and now I have it as a parts vehicle. Or I should say parts vehicle, because it's really a great, reliable vehicle still. Alright, I'm going to fire this thing up. It's been sitting all night. It takes a little bit to crank on a cold start. It definitely has a 90s fuel pump, an older fuel pump in it. But it runs good once it starts up, and we'll take it for a little bit of a drive. Alright, so we're ready to go here. This one, obviously, it's got the leather, it's got all the nicer options. However, it does still have the transmission needle being off. But yeah, it is nice. It's got a factory radio, which the other one does not have. And you can see the 4x4 is not binding. The auto 4x4 works. The front drive shaft is connected, unlike my other Explorer, and it works as it should. Brakes feel all right. Suspension is not making any weird noise. Power steering feels good. I know it doesn't have AC. I checked that yesterday. Heat works though. The radio works. All the power options work. Even the automatic driver window still has its automatic function. I'm gonna pan out. Yeah, so it does everything a vehicle really needs to do. It just has some high mileage. So I'm hoping I can get the parts I need off of it and then give someone a good running, reliable vehicle for, you know, a really good price, because obviously it's not cosmetically a stunner, so it just runs and drives good. And it was definitely a Virginia vehicle. You can see the inspection sticker was in the middle of the windshield at one point. The title says it's a Virginia vehicle. I'll stop talking, you can hear it. It's pretty good. Just wanted to show you guys, I got the black Explorer out right now. I'm taking it home to use it for work this week. You can see I got my stuff back there, but we're just cruising right now, like 70. She does great, runs great, shifts great. There's no real shakiness to the wheel, and it drives straight, which is great. So not much to complain about. This is a really great vehicle for 500 bucks. All right, so I'm out here today finally changing out this cracked grill. You can see I just got one from a junkyard for like 30 bucks. I was able to replace it. All right, it is another morning out here with this black Explorer. It is finally back up here in Williamsport with that nice fresh grill. No more tape on the front end. The corner light is stuck in there properly. On the inside, I'll bring you guys in here and show you how many miles we put on it in the last week and a half of ownership. Taking it back and forth for work, and driven a lot for work in the past week. But yeah, 627 miles, and after today it'll be over 700 miles on this bad boy since we bought it for 500 bucks. Runs and drives great. I've been loving it. Obviously, that's why I've done some work to it. I've gotten a new steering wheel, which I'm going to put in soon. Taking you back outside though, it does have some damage still that we are going to address today. Starting with this door and the blown out window. I gotta retape this one last time before we drive here. This tape keeps failing. Of course, it's tape, not glass. But hopefully today, both of these issues are gonna be fixed. I've sourced up in New York about an hour and a half from here, replacement black fender and a replacement black door with the quarter glass, so I don't have to deal with removing all the molding and replacing glass. I can just swap out the door. It's the same black colors from the same model year. Even has the same pinstripe, even though I'm probably going to remove these at some point. So yeah, we're heading up to upstate New York today. Nice little drive for this Explorer. Half of the drive it did the other day coming back up from southeast Pennsylvania. But yeah, it's happily back up here at the home base. And we are going to have another adventure today. So let's hit the road. We're going here on Route 15. You can see it is a little rainy, but not too bad. Luckily the tape's holding on that quarter glass. This thing's just cruising at 75. Just like the last road trip, it does great. Just cooking through the hills here. Coolant needle sitting right where it should be. It's doing great. Little shaky at almost 80, but that's what you'd expect from a 40-year-old Explorer almost. But it's doing great. Beautiful drive out here. Route 15 is an amazing road up towards New York. Alright, so we have entered middle of nowhere New York, as you can see. I love these. There's a ball entering the road. I love these tiny little New York towns. They are quaint, nice, old architecture, old rotted out cars. But yeah, we're like 30 minutes out. This is the type of area we're picking up the parts from. Just some guy who parts out cars on a farm. So perfect type of person to buy a fender and a door off of. Dollar Generals every time we turn on the camera. That house, oh man. This is quintessential Western New York here, Southwest. I love it. It's such a pretty quaint state. Look at this little white church, the Esso station, beautiful. With
In 1,000 feet,
well, early
turn
50s
left
there.
on New York 36.
Yeah, we're almost there. I'm excited to get these parts, and then we're gonna find a nice little spot to get a bite to eat. Alright, here they are. Nice door with good glass to replace this one. I'll swap the door card for the other. Then we have a fender. Of course, it does have a little bit of rust because it's from New York. However, we have the running board, so I should be able to, I think it'll line up perfectly. Yeah, the running board will pretty much cover that. So we should be fine. I gotta repaint where it's silver down here because obviously mine's not a two-tone. I gotta take this strip off too. But same with the door, it's two-tone. But yeah, we're just out. Western New York still. Gonna hit the road, find something to eat. Alright, so we stopped here, right back in Pennsylvania at the Rusted Nut. We literally just passed over the New York border. Explorer's still doing great. We got a good meal in a nice quaint little Pennsylvania town with nice mountain views. Alright, second major road trip with this bad boy in 2 weeks, and we're at 840 miles since I bought it for 500 bucks. That right there, I mean, this truck owes me nothing at this point, so I'm just gonna put these body parts on that I got for it and keep doing little things here and there, keep driving it for a while, and who knows, I don't know. The gray one I gotta do some work to, which that's coming up here tomorrow and sometime soon. Alright, so since the Explorer did so well yesterday on its drive, I rewarded it by putting a new steering wheel on it. We finally have a horn now, which is good. The old one, it was missing the cruise control buttons, which I stole the wrinkly ones, the little messed up ones from the gray Explorer over there. But now it's got a good horn. It's got working cruise control, which is awesome for a 1998. And most importantly, you can see on this old steering wheel, it just was in poor shape. So compared to what we have now, much better. The leather's not torn up. It's kind of hard to see with the shadows, but it is in good shape. Alright, I flipped this thing around so you can kind of see better here. But yeah, it's a little wrinkled and stuff because that's just what all this older Ford leather does. But the big thing is, if you compare it to this steering wheel was disgusting. There's barely even leather left. At this point, I mean, this thing's junk. So I'm gonna throw this one out. There's nothing really left saving here. Not even the wiring's good. It's been cut and messed up. And yeah, luckily we've got a much nicer one to use now. Alright, so now that we've fixed that steering wheel and have done a little bit of interior cosmetics, obviously the seats are still a little lackluster, but we might get to that at some point. Now it is time to do this door. So you can see in there, I believe those are 1/2 inch bolts. I'll have to update on the size once I get it out. But yeah, we're gonna have to undo these hinges. There's another one down there. Yeah, they're either like 12 to 14 millimeter or 1/2 inch. And then we gotta pull back this grommet, of course, get the wiring unplugged in there, and we'll be good to go. But before we do any of that, we gotta come in and I need to undo this whole door card because this interior door skin is gonna get swapped onto the other door. So it's 2 Phillips head right there, pops out this whole like trim piece, and then the rest of the door kind of pops and slides up. Alright, so like I said, that little trim piece slides and pops off. I also took this off from here. Kind of goes around the door handle bezel. Well, it is a door handle bezel, but there we go. There's the door handle, the plug. I'm going to probably take this speaker out and use this. I don't know if the speaker in the door I bought is good, but that's what the door looks like without its skin, interior skin, and there's the interior skin right there. So we'll swap out this door then. I gotta put this skin back on the new door, put the speaker in the new door, and we should be good to go. Okay, so a couple of things for people doing this themselves. These bolts are 13 millimeter. You can get in there pretty easily. That is the grommet and the plug, if you can see that in there, for the door. You really kind of have to be careful with pulling this out if you're going to reuse the door. I don't have any use for this door, so I don't really care too much. But these wire looms strip very easily coming out of this housing, and I'm sure going back in, it'll be the same thing. And it's a little tricky to get to that plug, but having a nice little like pick tool, that really helps getting that grommet off and getting the plug out. So I'm going to take this door off and put the new one on then. Alright, here we go. We have a black door with a window. Unfortunately, the pinstripe does not line up, and like I said before, the bottom is gray, which you kind of can notice. But also you can definitely tell the door I bought was a little bit more waxy than this paint. This paint will match eventually when I buff it up, but I'm not doing that yet until I get the fender on, which will probably be tomorrow or sometime soon. I'm out of time today, but that and the steering wheel were huge improvements that needed to happen for the drivability of this thing. I now don't have to deal with rain getting in here when it rains, the wind from the highway. That tape kept blowing off on the highway. So this door I'll keep for some extra parts. Probably the striker I'll have to use at some point. This striker is in much better shape than the one that I got from New York, obviously, because there's rust up in New York. But for now, I've got a good door and we're good to go. And the fender is next up on the agenda. So today we replaced this horrible dented fender on the 1998 Black Explorer that we have here. Don't worry, the heater core is coming for the gray one. It should be here in a day or two. It's I have not forgotten about that one. But with the door on, I still need to paint that bottom portion here, and I'm gonna probably spray some black enamel on these strips here, or at least that one, because this one's got pretty good black already. This is the replacement door we got from the junkyard. Today we're going to be replacing this fender, which I have the replacement one right around the corner here. I ended up, I had to strip down, if you remember it was two-tone silver and black, so I stripped it down and sprayed it with that enamel, which kind of matches the original. It also sucks I lost some metal on this fender because this fender was from New York and had some rust. The rest of the vehicle's from Virginia and doesn't have rust. However, just one little fender is not going to kill it. The frame and underneath is still obviously a rust-free Virginia frame. So we're going to get this fender on. I'm going to go take you back over now and show you. You can kind of see here, there's a bolt right there, which is going to be pretty tough to get to on mine because it's all damaged. And then underneath, we don't have a splash guard, but if we did, there's a bunch of holes for it. And then right here, right there is where the little step connects to. And then there's a couple more holes on the back side that I have to get through the door. And then up on the top as well, we have our antenna and a couple more bolts. I'll go show you on the vehicle now. So looking at our fender on the vehicle here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bolts here. One of the bolts just holds in this, I believe that is a cruise control actuator. So all those have to come out. I think first things first, I'm going to try to, I'll probably wait to take off the antenna. You basically just pop this little cap off, which it already wants to pop off, and then there's a couple of T50 bits underneath here, Torx bits, and then the whole antenna just drops out of the fender, and then we'll obviously have to put that into our new one so we can keep our radio. And here's that bolt on the running boards I was talking about. Yeah, you can see we're going to be missing some metal down here, but it is what it is. I'd rather have a little bit of rust on a fender than a completely dented fender. I'm also going to have to try to see if I can bang out this bumper at all as I'm in there trying to mess with the bolt, which is hidden back behind there, which you probably can't even see right now. So I just noticed I do have a fender liner up in here, so it's Phillips head screws along the lip to take it out, kind of like what was on the running board. There's also two little 8mm bolts for the fender underneath that running board if you have it and it's not rusted out. The new one's not going to have these bolts, but this one is a rust-free fender from Virginia, so it did, and that would have kept it from coming off, and they're hidden underneath this piece right here. And there's two of the washers right there that they're held into. So those are probably not getting reinstalled with the rust, but they're out. Alright, I'm about to remove this bad boy, but I want to give everyone an overview of where these bolts are. There's one right behind the turn signal. There's one, like I showed, right in there in between the bumper. There's one right about here on the door. That's the only one in the door jamb. There's the two down here, a couple in here for the fender liner, right up in that lip. And then, of course, the 4 up top on this apron. Alright, the fender is officially off. You can see where it mounts to on this front headlight bracket. And then it's completely out here. There's the inner fender well, no rust whatsoever. And down the main apron, this is always where it rusts out right here. Looks great. That's why we love Virginia. And yeah, here's that old beat up fender. Yeah, that's where the new one's going to be rotted out, but it is what it is. I'll bring it on over here before I put it on, and I'll show it side by side. But yeah, now what we have to do, I'm going to have to swap this antenna onto the new one. This bracket can go right back on here. It kind of just goes down here like that, leading up to the antenna post. But yeah, everything's going pretty smoothly. There's the cable for the antenna. I also have to try to bang out this bumper a little bit, see if I can get it more flush. Alright, so after a while of pondering how I was going to get this bumper to get pushed back out, this was my genius idea. I don't even know if you can see it in there. Yeah, so I put the jack that's supposed to be for the spare tire. Somehow I got that wedged in against the frame with just enough space to send the crank up here. So I'm able to crank it from up top, so if anything shoots out, I'm out of the way and won't get hurt. But at the same time, I can watch, and I've been able to line it up pretty nicely at the top. I just got to do it a little bit more at the bottom there so it lines up with that trim piece. And then I should be able to install this new fender. Alright, here we go. We've got the dented up fender right there next to the nice, I shouldn't say new fender, because you can see it is definitely missing some metal there compared to the old one. But it'll do. It's black, it's color matched, it has no dents whatsoever, just a little bit of rust that's going to get hidden up by this little rocker cover here. So we're going to mount it up now. As you can see, I've gotten this bumper sitting pretty flush at this point, so I think we're good to go. Alright, here we go. About 3 hours later, new fender is on. It's not too easy to tell that it's rotted out down here, but when you get up close, you can kind of see in behind there. Other than that, I got to put the fender liner back in still. But I got the bumper out a little bit more so it looks more in line. Overall, it just doesn't look like this vehicle had an accident now on this side, which is good. Nice front end, that grille that I replaced, and that turn signal on the driver's side that I replaced. Coming down the side, that door I replaced. Kind of funny, we got a little wave in the pinstripe right now, but I'm going to just take all those pinstripes off and then I'll end up paint correcting this whole vehicle. So obviously the roof, this paint is not going to really come out. It's a little baked through, and on the hood too. I might try that Poppy's patina that I used on the van for the hood, but I might just leave it too. No matter what, I should be able to detail this vehicle up and get it looking pretty good now that it's cosmetically sound and mechanically sound. Alright, so today is yet another day for cosmetics on this Explorer. Today I just scuffed up these little trim pieces here, and I'm going to finally respray them with a high performance gloss enamel just to bring back some life to this thing. So we only have one on this side because the new door had good trim. Over here though, we've got both of them that we have to do. So here's what they look like now, and I'm going to get them painted. Alright, here's our driver's side done. You can see this is the same enamel. If you watched when I did the Nissan Quest, it kind of had the same trim peel issue. So same gloss enamel. It really holds up well against heat and durability from people grabbing that with their fingers over the years. And it does have a nice gloss. So with that done, I'm going to hit the other side. Alright, here's the other side all masked up. I just sprayed it. Did the same little scuff on it before spraying. This one has a little bit more orange peel, unfortunately, because my can was getting low. But still looks pretty good. Much better than just bright white. And like on the Nissan Quest, it just brings back a little bit more character and makes this vehicle just look a little bit more brand new. So I like it. Cosmetically, it's much more appealing. I'll take you guys around the other side now, because this side is pretty much all done from the body work we did. We pushed out that bumper a good bit, replaced the fender, replaced this door, and then of course painted the one trim side so they match. And yeah, this thing is cosmetically ready now. Mechanically, it is sound as well. I put over 1,000 miles on it at this point since I bought it 2 weeks ago. And now I'm ready to unmask this, and I'll do a paint correction on it then, and hopefully get all of this black looking as shiny and new as possible, apart from, of course, where it's faded through on the hood and the roof. Alright, here we are with the mask unwrapped, and that is a wrap for the trim pieces. So now all that's left for me to do is paint correct all this dull faded black paint that's over here. I should be able to get about 90% of this vehicle shining back up, apart from like the couple of spots on the hood where it burnt through, but you can kind of see right here where I just shined it up with some speed wax. It'll definitely shine up again. The roof, of course, also is toast, but the rest of it should be able to come back just enough. And with those little trim pieces, it just looks ever so more new than it did before. So anyway, next time you see it, it'll be all nice and shiny, and I'm gonna get to work paint correcting it. Alright, I have one more thing I want to tackle cosmetically before I start doing the paint correction on this, and that is this door that was also a two-tone. You can see it's kind of the same gray as the running boards here. But I went and ground down the rust already. You can see there were some bubbles starting on this. I got pretty much down to bare metal, as good as I can. I'm gonna spray some rust reformer on it. I already sprayed the inside, which was pretty bad. Something's hanging here. I already sprayed this inside here, you can see it was pretty bad. But that's coated. That's a full-time rust reformer, so that should help it for the next, 5 to 10 years, as long as this vehicle's going to be lasting with so many miles. But this door, I gotta paint it still and get this black to match that black. So that's what we're here to do now. I've begun masking it off. I'm gonna sand it down with 80 grit and then smooth it out and spray some that same Krylon black rust reformer on it. And it's a pretty close match. It's what we have here on the fender. Alright, you can see here we have this prepped. It's all nice down to a fine haze. I think I went 80 to 120 to 260 or 2 something like that, and then 320. So 320 was the smoothing out finishing. And now we can spray it with this Krylon black Paint Plus primer, which will help with some of these areas where we went a little bit further down because of rust. And yeah, I'll show you guys what it looks like when we're finished up here. Alright, so today is the wash day, the wash and correction day for this vehicle. Now when I say correction, like I said, we're not going to be fixing any of the paint fade itself. This vehicle has almost 220,000 miles. It's to be expected. What we want to fix, now that we have done away with the two-tone, we've got the trim piece back on, it is now all black on the body panels. We want to correct it so this older dull black matches the shine of the newer panels we added. So we're going to wash it first, make sure all the paint's decontaminated. Also, if we come around this side, you'll see I have the banana wheel eraser. I took off that little, all the residue that was there from whatever sticker was on the back here. And I'm also starting to take off the pinstriping. And as you can see, that is what the black paint should shine up to after we're done with this enhancement here. So I'm going to continue taking off all the pinstripes on this side. And then around over here, these mismatched pinstripes. Once they're all off, we'll give it a bath. Pull it back into the garage here before more of the rain comes. I've been dodging storms these past couple of days. And then hopefully bring the rest of the paint back to life. Alright, so just with the wash, I'm getting pretty excited already because it looks great. It's got some shine back to it. All the dirt's off of it. That first layer of oxidation's off of it. You can still see it's not as shiny as the newer painted panels. However, once I do this paint correction and enhancement here, it should match up very nicely. So I'm going to pull it in the garage now and start on doing that. Alright, so here it is the next morning. This black turned out amazing everywhere apart from the one little spot on the hood and of course the roof. But other than that, the sides turned out flawless. I'm hoping the sun comes out so you can see in some sunlight. It just shines. Deep piano black gloss. Shined up that front bumper a little bit and front fascia. Headlights as best as we could. Wheels I was able to clean up amazingly. If you remember, they had some caked on brake dust when I first got it. So for now, the exterior is pretty much finished. I have nothing else cosmetically I have to do on it And the interior, I might try to find seats still, but if I can't, it's no big deal. And mechanically, it's good to go. You can see this side was the side that we had to paint. Down there on the door. Nice gloss throughout. Same with the fender up here. And overall, it is all the same shade of black now down this side, which I love. It really looks like a nice, clean example now. And I'm about to do another road trip with this. I'm about to take it back down to my hometown, do another week's worth of detailing with it looking much nicer now. And I think it's going to do a great job again. It did great last time, and we're going to put about another 300 to 400 miles on it. So today we're under the hood, and I think I've finally figured out the check engine light. So right here on this idle air control vacuum actuator, here's the idle air control valve itself. Right on top of the intake manifold, that clip right there needs a little E-clip, which I have right here. Just bought a pack from Harbor Freight. And with that, we should be able to have a properly actuating vacuum solenoid here. Because right now, what happens is it just kind of pops up like that as I'm driving and then gets locked there, which is not good. It is going to cause some bad fuel trim codes and a rough idle when it starts, which is what happens. So hopefully with this E-clip back in, it'll run a lot better now. All right, on today's episode of Wrenching on an Explorer, we're back here in Williamsport with the Black Explorer. If you remember the last clip, I checked on this butterfly valve for the idle air control and fixed the little circlip on top here, which you can see now. It is retained properly and doing its job. And the throttle is a lot more responsive now. However, we still do have a bit of a vacuum leak, and when I fire it up, especially on colder days, the idle kind of hunts and surges. So we're going to take off this intake manifold and finally replace these intake manifold gaskets. On these Explorers and a lot of older 90s vehicles, this is a very common thing to go bad. It's a lot of engine heat, it's rubber, so it shrinks and cracks and warps, and over time it just doesn't seal like it should, and that creates a huge vacuum leak. As you can see, we've already replaced some vacuum lines here. I've been trying to troubleshoot this check engine light for a while now, but hopefully this today finally fixes it and we can be on our way with this vehicle. So you can see there's a couple of things we have to disconnect. Obviously this elbow to the airbox, and then the throttle cable. There's a lot of vacuum lines all around. You can see I already have the brake booster disconnected over here, connects to the back. And I also have a little line off of the butterfly valve there. There's a hose right there that connects to this tube, and then your EGR down here. You can disconnect it here, but what I recommend is just remove the gasket. It just pops out right here with a gasket, and then you can remove the entire intake manifold. So I'm going to slowly go around here. PCV has to come off, obviously, and just remove everything I can, and then get to the fastening bolts, which you can kind of see one right there, which I believe are T25. And then we can remove this intake manifold, take a look at the old gaskets, and replace them with our new Felpros. The part number, if you're trying to do this yourself, is 90890. Alright, so step one, getting the upper intake plenum is done. There's our lower intake plenum. You can see all 6 ports for the 6-cylinder. And you can see a lot more of the lines that we had to remove now. There's a whole bracket for vacuum lines back there. There's these 2 that connect underneath. There's one on each side there, and then one over here. And those connect with these clips too, so you have to pull the clips first, and they can pop out. You can't just pull them off or else they'll break. So yeah, with all those connections undone, we have that out. Here's a couple more of the parts. There's that butterfly valve that we replaced the E-clip on, the intake air control, and then some vacuum canister. I don't even know what this is for. Some kind of emissions crap. Late 90s, you know how it is. You can see our EGR port right there. A little dirty, to be expected for 220,000 miles, so not too bad. Overall, gonna clean it up. These gaskets are worn. You can see they're all flattened out, dry. So let's see if I can pull one out actually while I have you on camera here. Got a little pick. We'll just go in one of the access ports here. Hard to do one-handed, but There we go. They're not too dry. Yeah, they really aren't that dry, but they're pressed down. They're a lot more worn than these new ones are going to be. Can't even focus it in there. Let's see. Put it down here. Yeah, they're just a little bit more flat, not as plush as the new ones. These new ones are pretty thick. So, it'll definitely seal a lot better here. It doesn't look like there were many sealing issues on the upper intake plenum. Now, once I get this lower one off, you can see there's a bunch of little 8mm bolts all around it. That's typically where the gaskets go bad, so I'm excited to see what's under there. Well, here we go. We have the lower intake plenum off, and just like I suspected, these lower gaskets are bad. They are probably the originals, and you can see just how badly they were leaking. That sludge that's coming onto the outside, yeah, it's the same sludge that's on the inside, which this sludge builds up over the years in 200,000+ miles. However, once it starts leaking out of the intake plenum, you know those gaskets are not sealing the vacuum properly. So these gaskets are definitely no good. The upper ones might have had a couple more years left in them, but we're gonna replace them all because we got a whole kit, and then we'll throw her back together. Here's what it looks like under the hood with that lower intake plenum removed. So you can see down there too, there's some more of that grease, so you probably can't see, but yeah, you can see right where it was leaking out though. There's some discoloration all around. So yeah, these definitely need to be done. I'm happy I'm finally getting around to it. This thing should drive a whole heck of a lot better then when I'm done with it. One other thing we want to do before putting the gaskets on is clean up all these mating surfaces. So where those gaskets go, where these gaskets go, obviously on the actual block itself, we cleaned all the grease off of there because there was a lot because of the leak. And now these new gaskets should mount and seal perfectly. Also, obviously, clean the upper intake. Alright, there we go. We can see nice new plush gaskets. They actually stick out a little bit instead of being completely flat with the surface because they haven't been pressed down for so many years. Same with up here. These were the ones that were really bad. And this thing should seal perfectly now and have perfect engine vacuum. So let's put it all back together. For the torque spec on this, you're going to want to start at the ends and work your way in. There's a couple of manuals online, and then you're tightening this to 13 foot-pounds total. However, you have to do it in 4 different passes. Once again, all this information's online for anyone trying to do it themselves. But yeah, it's a goofy torque pattern, and then I believe it's 62 Newton meters or inch-pounds for the upper. So we're gonna get the lower on first, then the upper. All right, it's all buttoned up and back together. You can see everything is the way it was before. We got the throttle cable back up. All the vacuum lines are hooked up where they were supposed to be hooked up. And then the airbox is back on. So with that done, let's hop inside and fingers crossed she fires up a lot nicer than she used to. Oh yeah. Sounds a lot better than before. Before she would kind of have to sputter to life. This time it had plenty of gas. It went right up and then idled down to where it needed to. So I'm happy with it. I'll clear this check engine light, drive it for the proper amount of drive cycles, and hopefully it doesn't come back. So it's been a couple of days since we did the gasket job on this Black Explorer here. It has been driving great. I've put over 100 miles on it since. And today we're going to be doing something on the Gray Explorer again. So I'm about ready to just sell the Gray Explorer. However, I can still fix the heater core, which we are doing today. As you can see, we've started removing some stuff on the dashboard. To get to the bolts in there, you have to remove that upper cowling for the defroster. This lower kick plate you have to remove. There's a couple bolts in there. You can see these are the main bolts as well as the bolts up top. That and the steering yoke right here, once I remove that, I can lay this entire dashboard down onto the seats here. Luckily I don't have a full center console, makes this a lot easier. So I'll show you guys what it looks like once I have everything removed. You can see this is what I've removed so far. And I'll show you this old heater core once I get it out. Alright, as you can see, we now have this dashboard dropped down. We removed all the bolts up front here. You can see right there is the HVAC box with the heater core. So we'll pop that out of there and I'll show you what the old one looks like. And then we'll throw the new one in. Alright, day 2 of this heater core here. I have the dash temporarily fixed upwards here, just so it's out of my way. I had to get underneath here and get a little bolt that you can see right there. It's 11 millimeter bolt, and then there's a couple more on the outside, and this is all to remove this AC box right here, this HVAC box. You can see the lines right there. I had to remove this box to be able to get access to all the 8 millimeters on the inside to remove the heater core from its outer housing, which is plastic, which I'll show you in a second here. However, to remove this, I had to take off the air box, obviously, and then move this coolant reservoir and windshield washer reservoir forward, as well as the cruise control module here had to come off the fender. And now I was able to move this whole box forward. I can go back in here, drop the dashboard here, and I can access the heater core from the inside then and pull it right out. Alright, another half an hour later, this has been some shit, and I'm going to document this so you guys, if you're trying to do this, won't have to go through what I just went through to finally get this dashboard removed far enough to pull this HVAC box forward. Here's our heater core. You can see it can kind of come out now. I'll have it out fully in a second. I had to go and disconnect. If you can see over there, that is the automatic transmission lever. You have to disconnect that from the actual dash itself if you want this dash to move forward, but that's not it. There's also, if you come around this side, right down here, this was holding me up for a while. There is, let me see if I can find it here. This little bar attaches to that spot right there. Yeah. If that's not removed, this will not move forward on this side, allowing you to have enough access over there to get the heater core. Once you do that, there's also some nuts on the firewall on the outside that you have to remove to get that HVAC box out, and the ones I showed before. So with that out, I was able to take this little cover off with its 8 millimeter bolts, and I can swap out this heater core now. Alright, here's our comparison. That's the old one right there, and then this is our new one. The new one didn't include all the foam, like the little outlet gasket right there, so I'm going to have to reuse that. But they did include some new surround foam. And you can see this one, a lot less discoloration than this one, so I'm assuming in the center here, there's a little bit of pinholes right there in the little tubes, and right down all these discolored vents it would leak and then pool up in the foam down there. No leaks on the bottom from what it looks like, but definitely it was leaking. The entire box I had to dry out as well, but now we're ready to throw in this new one, and cross our fingers, no more leaks. Alright, as you can see here, all is back together and she is running beautifully. It is a great running and driving vehicle. It is super clean, and now it is working heat and AC. So I'm going to start cleaning this thing up. I'm going to take it on a quick drive real quick just because I haven't driven it in a while. Then I'm going to clean this one up, as well as the black one over there, and get them both ready to sell. Alright, so here is the final look here at our gray base model 1998 Ford Explorer. This thing is an absolute time capsule. It shined up perfectly. I'm so happy with the condition of this paint, even on the roof here. Show you guys. It has flawless original clear coat, which I was able to correct. Same with the hood here. This front end looks great. Around this side it's the same thing. Mismatched wheels still, but they still look really good. A little bit of pitting. A little bit of patina, as expected for 180,000 miles. But it drives really well. You can see the black one over there. That'll be next here. I didn't finish the exterior or the interior yet. However, the exterior is finished on that, so I will show you what that looks like, and then we'll come back here in a couple of weeks to finish the interior. The gray one, however, is going to be going up for sale here soon. See down here, chrome bumper looks great. Yeah, so a really good looking vehicle and great in the wintertime. Although with this undercarriage being so clean and rust free, Someone's going to want to undercoat that. Anyway, let's head inside. I'll fire this thing up. Show you guys the interior. You can see here, this door cleaned up very well. Center stack here. Dashboard's all together nicely again. Heater core is working great. That headliner, all original in great shape. And same with these seats. Anyway, we'll top in, fire it up. 183,000 miles on the dash. Fires right up. Little Alpine head unit. Have the AC on right now. AC blasts ice cold. Center console looks good. And the seats. The rear seats look really nice. I love the patterns. Very 90s. I also love the little ashtrays in the back. Blast from the past right there. There's that headliner again. Only a couple of tears. These headliners are really fragile nowadays. 2 original floor mats, which is nice. Same thing around this side. You can kind of see the door panels better here. Really clean. Passenger side. This passenger seat looks like it was barely sat in. And the crank windows, I love it. So anyway, that's it for the Gray Explorer. Hopefully someone buys it either as a project or just to enjoy it as a nice time capsule vehicle with no rust from Virginia. Up here, vehicles with no rust are definitely sought after, and this is a beautiful survivor at this point. So enough with this, let's get to the black one over there. Alright, and here finally is the Black Explorer. So you guys have kind of seen this thing all dolled up on the outside, but here it is in its final form. This is going to make a great vehicle for someone, super dependable. Really nice clean black paint, just the roof that has a little bit of fade up here. But it's got way more miles than the other one. Has a lot more options though, like a working sunroof. Interior's got a lot of options. We'll show you the interior here, like I said, once I finish detailing it. You can see, front fascia is still really clean though. The chrome's nice, the wheels are in great shape. Both of these Explorers are Virginia Explorers, so not much rust underneath. They have nice rocky panels. Coming around the back, we have the same bumper. This one's polished up nicely as well. Just all around, it is in really shiny condition, where the paint is showing well. Even the hood, where the paint's starting to fade, shows pretty well. So I'm excited about this one. The gray one is going up for sale now, as you can see over there. It is sitting in the garage until it goes for sale. This one I get to detail when I come back, and I'll show you the interior when we're finished. Well, here is our final look at the Black Explorer here. It is all finished up. It's got a little bit of morning dew on the exterior, but you can still see it's just as clean as last week when I was doing that. I just finished the interior yesterday. You can see these doors came out great. It was quite a job doing this interior, but it was definitely worth it. And it's looking really good now. Coming around back, it's the same thing. This headliner's in great shape. back cargo section. This carpet really cleaned up well. And these seats, the back seats look like they've never been sat in here. The fronts have a little bit of patina, but it is what it is. This vehicle has almost 220,000 miles. It's to be expected. But everything cleaned up really nicely. See, even the bolsters and everything. Steering wheel that we replaced. And then the center console. So anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, watching us bring two Explorers back to life, as you can see the gray one's already even sold, so we just have one left here. We somehow brought this from being a $500 auction car that was all damaged up on this side to bringing it back to life and making it look brand new again, or as close as we can get to new with 220,000 miles. We've revitalized both of them and given both of them new chances at life. Especially this one, which has served me well. I put almost 3,000 miles on this in the couple of months that I've owned it here. And hopefully it'll do the same for its next owner. And I'm sure the gray one's off doing the same already. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up for more content just like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.